Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Bible study. Today we're continuing the series, Jesus is Better. And today we're going to talk about Jesus has better promises. In Hebrews chapter 8, we're going to read the first 6 verses here, just as we did last week. But we're going to point out something different here. It says, the point of what we are saying is this. We do have such a high priest who sat down at the right hand of the throne of God, of the majesty in heaven, and who serves in the sanctuary, the true tabernacle set up by the Lord, not by man. Every high priest is appointed to offer both gifts and sacrifices, and so it was necessary for this one also to have something to offer. If he were on earth, he would not be a priest, for there are already men who offer the gifts prescribed by the law. They serve at a sanctuary that is a copy and shadow of what is in heaven. This is why Moses was warned when he was about to build the tabernacle. See to it that you make everything according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. But the ministry Jesus has received is superior to theirs, as the covenant of which he is mediator is superior to the old one, and it is founded on better promises. The term translated as promises here is the Greek term epanglia, and it means an announcement for information, assent, a pledge, especially a divine assurance of good. And it also can mean a message or a promise. When used in the New Testament, this is most always associated with the promises God made to Abraham back in the Old Testament. There was the promised land along with the rest that it would offer. With the final salvation of believers, there is a promise of entering that promised land, that rest as well. In Hebrews chapter 4, let's read verses 1 through 5. It says, therefore, since the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us be careful that none of you be found to have fallen short of it. For we also have had the gospel preached to us just as they did, but the message they heard was of no value to them, because those who heard it did not combine it with faith. Now we who have believed enter that rest, just as God has said, so I declared on oath in my anger, they shall never enter my rest, and yet his work has been finished since the creation of the world. For somewhere he has spoken about the seventh day in these words, and on the seventh day God rested from all his work. And again in the passage above he says, they shall never enter my rest. Now verse 9 says, there remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God, for anyone who enters God's rest also rests from his own work, just as God did from his. Let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest, so that no one will fall by following their example of disobedience. So the Israelites failed to receive the everlasting promise of rest because of their rebellion. The promise, however, still stands for the people of God. Thus it still stands for us as Christians. Even though we are to be aliens and strangers in this world, there is a better country promised, a heavenly one. We will not be able to experience that country and the rest therein right now, but we can look forward to that rest beyond this life. Just as the heroes in the faith listed in Hebrews 11 lived as foreigners on this earth, as aliens, so we do as well, as we hold on to the hope of the promise of a land that's not in this world or of this world. And of course the rest that is promised in that land, that promised land. Verses 39 and 40 of Hebrews 11 says, these were all commended for their faith, these people of faith, yet none of them received what had been promised. God had planned something better for us, that only together with us would they be made perfect. Now, when we take all these passages about this promise together, we see that it's really eschatological. It's about our salvation, the salvation of all believers. It's been called the theology of promise. What was originally promised to Abraham thousands of years before, in an earthly sense, is promised in an eternal sense, a heavenly sense, to all believers in Jesus Christ. Just as many of the Old Testament prophecies have sort of a temporary earthly fulfillment, they also have an ultimate fulfillment, many of them, particularly when about Jesus Christ and what He would do and what He would provide. So this land promise, it's much like that. It is a place of eternal rest for all who place their faith in Jesus Christ. It becomes a part of an eternal inheritance awaiting believers in heaven. As we discussed last time, Jesus Christ is the ultimate mediator and high priest, because He made the ultimate sacrifice for all believers. He was He made that sacrifice for all people, but especially for those that will place their faith in Him. He was the high priest that sacrificed Himself for the sins of all mankind. The writer of Hebrews explains in chapter 9 just how much greater that sacrifice is, or the blood of Christ, compared to the animal sacrifices. It says in 9:14, "How much more then will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered Himself unblemished to God, cleanse our consciences from acts that lead to death, so that we may serve the living God." Since He is the ultimate high priest and mediator before God and sacrifice for our sins, He has made the ultimate promise of eternal salvation and rest possible for all who will place their faith in Him. Hebrews 9:15 says, "For this reason Christ is the mediator of a new covenant, that those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance, now that He has died as a ransom to set them free from the sins committed under the first covenant." If you desire the hope of salvation and that rest that we've been talking about for all eternity, then there's only one way that you will be given that hope, and it is through Jesus Christ. Revelation 14:13 says, "Then I heard a voice from heaven say, 'Write, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, they will rest from their labor, for their deeds will follow them.'" That's something to look forward to, is it not? Not only an eternal heavenly promised land, perfect in every way, but also that rest. Rest from the things of this world, rest from the sins of this world, rest from the troubles of this world, rest from the pains of this world, rest from the loss that we experience in this world, and so many other things. We will receive that rest through Jesus Christ. And this is but yet another reason that Jesus is better. May God bless you and keep you and give you peace till we can meet here again and study His Word.